Oh, hi! So you're here because you're bored or you have a friend's birthday but you're broke and you only have 10 days left to spare, just like me, for real. First, I am no coder, no programmer, writer, or game company. I am just a part-time artist, full-time gooner that wants to make a homegirl happy with their favorite controversial fictional character. Yeah. So I saw some videos of people making short visual novels through Google Slides, and no matter how much I search, I could barely find an extensive step-by-step video of how to make one, specifically how to make one with multiple endings. But I had quite literally 10 days and a dream to make one, so I knew I had to figure it out along the way. So here is my step-by-step on how to make a visual novel using Google Slides. I'll be explaining what I did and what you should prepare to make one. With no AI, of course.
So for the first thing that you have to do is making a to-do list. I find this easier for my workflow in making the game because I think you need a clear roadmap so that when you're making the game, you don't have to grabble your way to find out what to do next. Also, for planning my project, I use Milanote and it has been pretty good. This is not sponsored, but I've seen a lot of different creatives working with their projects using this app, which I think has been pretty good. I really like the templates. I think that's the best thing that the app has to offer. There's so many templates that you can do. One problem is that you do have a limit. So for the first thing that I did is brain dumping concepts and storylines. And for the concepts, I just write down what kind of elements or features that I want to add into the game. I usually take them from existing games that I know of and I have played before that are visual novels, so that I know what the general flow of the game might look like and what are some cool features or details that I think would be good to include in my game. And then brain dumping the storyline, which means just writing out, just like making fiction, I would say. I'm sure you guys have made fan fiction somehow in your life. So put that skills to work and create a fairly simple storyline. So in my case, use a stereotype or a genre that you usually see in tags in fiction and all that stuff. Keep in mind we only have 10 days, so it's good to have a pretty linear and easy to work with storyline. And for my game, I made my storyline strangers to lovers with a little tiny bit of conflict just to spice things up. After brain dumping, I know what story that I want. I make a little outline, the intro, how it's gonna start, and as you can see, I made them into 7 chapters, but I use Sabrina Carpenter's album to name them. Thank you to our short queen for the inspiration. She will appear later again too, so watch out for that. And I'm just gonna show you guys just a teeny bit of what it looks like. So if you open it, these are the options, option A, and this is the option B. So yeah, I really wrote dialogue word by word, so that's easier for me to put it into the game later on. And of course, you can create a story that's more than 2 endings. It really depends on your time and resources if you think you have more time to make 3 endings. But in my case, I had to draw 2 different endings. Okay, boring, not so boring stuff is done. It's time to design the game, which brings us to our next to-do list, which is designing a concept mood board. And this is my mood board. Really simple, only 6 images that I got from Pinterest. I had kind of a retro arcade theme surrounding mobile app. I actually made all of my designs of the UI all the way from Canva. I originally wanted to make my game on Canva, but it's just easier for me to organize the elements that way. But unfortunately, Canva does has a limit. Disclaimer, I'm only using it to design the UIs. Unfortunately, lost the Canva file where I was working on it, but I made what the game would look like, or a mock-up first on Canva, and then I deleted the elements and simplified it, made it plain so that I can add text later on in Google Slides. And Google Slides doesn't really have a limit, the limit is the sky. Oh, and I also had 2 additional features, which is a music playlist or a soundtrack, and this is super optional, but I made it because most games have a soundtrack and I thought it would be a neat detail. But an idea is that if you struggle to compile songs and you only listen to 3 artists all the time, just use songs of their favorite artist. mine, I ended up basing the chapters off of his Sabrina Carpenter album. As you can see, she's back. Or you know how in certain visual novels, there's always like a day 1, day 2 sort of thing. I also made a little compiled message board from all of her friends. This is also optional because maybe you could just fill your own birthday message with your message if they're having a birthday. If they don't have a birthday, then you don't have to do this, of course. Feature and UI done. This definitely took way more longer than I'm explaining it, but since each of your versions of the visual novel is different and more personalized, I'd rather you guys experiment with your creativity than me explaining it. This is just like an example for you to experiment on your own. Also, another neat idea is that I made a little credit section. As you can see, I did everything. Now it's time for the character and sprites. So this is the character, my main character that I drew. In the back there's Toji, which I also drew. So you can use Picrew for the characters, or like me, you can draw as well. I think Picrew is really neat because there's tons that you can choose from, but make sure you don't use them to sell or as a commercial use if you are using assets from other people. And also, to save time, you can also just get a background from Pinterest and put a filter on it. So when they're talking, there's going to be a background in the back, which makes it more immersive, I guess. Yeah. Actually, first, let me show you guys what the game actually looks like. I have a little disclaimer screen. In Google Slides, you have to be pretty precise in clicking since most of it relates with linking a certain element. So you have to be pretty exact and linking things, which you will see later on. So I just have this disclaimer on. You can totally copy this and paste it to your games. So copy this from another Google Slides game, which I will show on the screen and also link in the description box below. And here is the home page. As you can see, previously I showed that it was plain, but now it has like the secret notes is the birthday messages, the playlist is the soundtrack, of course, and the buttons actually work. Let me click on it. As you can see, it works. And then the secret notes also work, but I'm not going to open it because there are my friends' names. So let's just go on and start with the game. So as you can see, this is how I used my sprites, the other sprites during a dialogue. And as you can see, there's option A and option B. And if I click option A, it actually works. So, and there's like a sequence going on. Then there's a click here to continue. So if we click here, it moves on to the main sequence, which I will show again. Now if we go to option B, it has a different dialogue and it says click here to continue. So you click here to continue and it goes back to the main story. So now it's time to put everything together. I already have this visual novel game dummy open. First, I made this little game thing. So you don't necessarily have to add anything right now because during the slideshow, usually when you click the screen, it will automatically go to the next slide. So now there's this choice option, right? There's option A and also option B. This is the sequence of option A. So there are 4 slides. If option A is the next slide, we don't want option B to be the next slide, right? In that case, we have to link them so that they go to their designated branches. So for option A, we just leave it, we don't put any links, but for option B, we link it to the sequence that has the slides of sequence B or option B. So this is the sequence of option B from slide 7 to slide 10. We go back to the choice option and click this button. So you press on this search button. So this thing is the text on what you want to say or that's going to be shown, that's going to be visible. And this one is going to be the link directing it. So you want to click on slide 7 or just click any number that links to the sequence that you want. In this case, it's slide 7. So you're going to click slide 7. And as you can see, there's like a blue highlight and underline. You can quickly undo it to make it more subtle. Click on the underline again and then change it to whatever color you want. Let's say it's white. And now when you click on option B, it will immediately go to sequence B. But if you go to option A, it will immediately go to A. You see how this is going, right? So there's this little pattern going on. So option A must have an ending sequence. So this is what makes it connect to the main story later on. So let's say you're done with the A sequence. You don't want it to move to the B sequence because that's just weird, right? So let's make it like a click to continue like I had earlier. And then we want to link it. So which one is going to be the main sequence? The main sequence is slide 11. So let's link it to that. Search it up on here, not here. This is the text. This is the link. So that's that for the A sequence. We're also going to do the same for the B sequence. Now, what's super convenient with Google Slides is that even if you add more slides, as long as the link that's connected continues to exist, it will still link it according to what we have linked. Okay, that sounds really complicated. Basically, no matter what, even if you delete the slides or add a new slide into the sequences, the links will not change. Basically, the link is like a locked chain. It will continue to link to that slide that you already chose, even if you added more slides into the sequences. So let me demonstrate. So we're back here, option A. As you can see, sequence 2A is gone now, but you can still click here to continue and it will lead you back to the main sequence. So even if you add or delete slides, it will still connect. Don't worry about it because I did have my fears when I wanted to add more slides. And it ended up limiting my creativity because there was some dialogue that I wanted to add after making the dialogue and everything. But I was hesitant because I feared that it would change up the whole thing, but it didn't. So thankfully, I'm really glad Google Slides is able to do this because it's much more efficient that way. That is that option branches. As you can see, it's super simple. You can make it more complicated if you like. Basically, your choices matter, but it would be more complex and it might take more slides for your game because in my game that I made, it took me 451 slides. Even a really simple storyline like that took me 451 slides. So again, according to your resources and time. And I want to show you guys how to do the ending. What I did was there is this one decider in the game. So this decision thing will determine your ending. So choose wisely. It immediately starts with sequence A. So I didn't link it as you can see, but sequence B is all the way over to slide 385. And as you can see right now, I'm on slide 322. So the gap is pretty big because I had to duplicate everything. I just made sequence A first. Final day, as you can see, D-Day. She gets her gift in the story. And there's this birthday message part. And then I made it all the way for the credits. You can go back to home, which will lead to the home page. And then next, option B. So sequence B. As you can see, it's 385. It's linked to here. Pasted the same thing sequence A had. If you want to make multiple endings, what you can do is make one ending first or one sequence first and make sure you add like something that you can click on that leads you back out. In this case, it's the back to home button. So this is the structure of what you need. So basically a option, immediately the next slide would be an option A and then the ending of option A, which link to the main sequence or just redirects it out of that ending, creating sequence B and then making the ending sequence for option B and then making the main sequence. Sounds pretty complicated, but once you make it, it's pretty easy and you'll understand the patterns as you go. If you made it to the end, I challenge you to put on your creative hats and make your own. I also have a dummy visual novel, which is the one you're seeing right now, but I will definitely decorate this more after I record this so it's more easier to look at, which I will link down below for you to figure out how the system works on Google Slides to help you kind of visualize it more. If you have any questions, please do share your questions onto the comment box or on my social media.
Stay tuned for more videos like this. You can subscribe for more or don't. I don't really mind. And yeah, hope to see you next time Sunday.